Gamers, today we are checking the recent tournament results and win rates from Golden League Round 1. And I think Angelica actually made this little graph. So Golden League Round 1 is top 64 players in the world, and these are the pick rates and the win rates. Before we get into Poggers Deli number 1, let me explain a couple of things. Let me calm down everyone in the chat. These are pick rates and win rates. There are no ban rates. So, what does that mean? Like always, when I look at the stats, I like to look at the full picture, if that makes sense. Not just like, if you look at this on a sheet of paper, you're like, oh my god, Deli's the best civ in the game. 61%, that's crazy. Hold up. Wait a minute. Is Deli good? Yeah, it is. It's good for this kind of round with super aggression and everyone's just all-inning and going at it. But we don't have stats for bans, but I can tell you from my experience, Deli is probably 6th or maybe 5th or 6th lowest banned civ, right? So the real loser in this one is French, because I can guarantee you, I don't think anyone banned French even once. Maybe someone misclicked. And French has only 20 games pick rate with 35% win rate. That's terrible. Right? That's terrible. Because French was always open and it only got picked 20 times. And then it has a win rate of 35%. So you can also dive deeper and see who picked French. Like maybe only top players pick French and it still has only 35%, which only makes the results worse. But French, I think, truly deserves the last place because, yeah, like I said, it's not banned at all. So it's kind of clear stats, if that makes sense. Abbasid, to me, is a bit surprising. But I do think that it's quote-unquote correct results. So what I mean by that is I don't think people banned Abbasid either. Probably maybe 6th, 7th, 8th lowest banned civ, I would say. French was definitely the least banned. Like I said, probably no one banned it. Abbasid, I would say, is probably 7th or 8th lowest banned civ, which means that it was open most of the time. And the fact that it was picked 51 times, it seems that a lot of players do share my notion of, oh, Abbasid is good. A lot of people picked it, but not great win rate, actually. Which is a bit surprising. I do think that Abbasid in the new patch did change, but I didn't think it was like for better or for worse massively. Now, I want to remind everyone that in this first round, we're not allowed to make keeps. Stonewall, I think, is not that big of a deal for most of these results, but keeps play a huge role in AOE4, especially for macro civs or civs that have unique upgrades on keeps. So French cannot make keeps because of the Golden League 2 round 1 rules. So they cannot get the discount for units, right? So that's pretty big, and that makes French a lot worse on an already bad civ. And then you have Abbasid. It is a very macro-oriented civ, and you don't have that backbone of making your keep. So I think most people playing Abbasid probably died before Abbasid really hit their peak with like 120, 30, 40 villagers just massing units, and they probably have a hard time defending. Now, the next one is a bit surprising, I will say that, but I do want to say that I don't think that Mongol is top 8 civ in this no wall, no keep round. So Mongol got picked 47 times, and the win rate is 42.5%. And this is, again, looking at the stats, is completely wrong. Because I know for a fact that Mongol was one of the most banned civs in the tournament. I would probably assume it's in the top 3 banned, maybe top 4. And what this means is it got picked almost every time that it was probably open, and you only play 3 games, remember. Each best of 3 has maximum of 3 games. So the fact that it still got 47 times picked while getting that high amount of bans proves that a lot of people still think Mongol is good. And the question is, were top Mongol players allowed to even play Mongols in the tournament? As in, if I play against a player that's really good Mongol, obviously I'm going to ban it, right? So what I'm trying to say is maybe the people who did play Mongols were not really Mongol mains. They're just like, oh, people can't make keeps and stonewalls, so I pick Mongol. It's kind of like a clear winner. And maybe they just didn't do as well with it. Now, I'm not going to say that Mongol should be first, but I just do want to let you guys know that Mongol did get a lot of bans in the tournament. I know that for a fact. And there's, not to mention, there's a lot of hybrid maps, a lot of water maps that, like, not full water, but hybrid maps. And Mongol is really good on those maps as well. And if those maps were picked, it was banned out. So, definitely not rank 8 on win rate. China, I think China probably deserves to be here. Maybe even number 8 spot, to be honest. I think me and a lot of other people severely underestimated, or overestimated rather, China. I don't think China is bad in this format, but I do realize I had a few games in practice and in tournaments where I felt like if I could build a keep, I would have survived and won the game. Because China obviously builds keeps a lot faster, and they can get stoned a lot quicker because of the Imperial Official. So I could definitely feel on China specifically that if I did have a keep in some situations, I would have done better. And I think maybe this is not the greatest format for China. And I don't think China was banned out too much, which is kind of weird to say, because last tournament we had, which was Red Bull, China was perma-banned. Like, China and English were perma-banned. But I don't think it received too many bans. I would probably say 6th, 7th, 5th, 6th, 7th, I don't know. Most banned civ. China, not too great. China also got another nerf, by the way, to the Song Dynasty, which I don't really know if it was needed, but who knows, right? Then the next one is interesting, and I want to mention this one because, well, if French received 0 bans, then Malians received maybe 1 ban. Yeah, I don't think anybody banned Malians, like maybe few people did, but the low pick rate is pretty much how the tournament was. Now, I do want to say that few top players, including Vortex and Lucifer, did play Malians, which I found surprising, and maybe that's something me and other top players will also explore. But Malians were picked. There were some mixed performances, mixed results. Obviously, that's 50% win rate. But I do want to say that this is a 50% win rate with like people picking them that are like specialized in Malians, right? That actually played a lot of Malians. And even then, they only got 50% win rate. So it's hard to say. I think we'll know more like next week, in the next weekend, if Malians get picked more or not. I have no idea. But yeah, not 50%. It is what it is. HRE 58 times picked at a 50% win rate. Now HRE, even though it has a 50% win rate, it was banned quite a bit. It was probably, I would say, I'm just going to say it so I don't repeat it every time. I would probably say Mongol, HRE, English, sometimes Rus, and Ottomans were probably the most banned civs. So Mongol and these 4 were probably, maybe not Rus, maybe Delhi. Delhi and Rus 5th, 6th, I would say. Probably the most banned civs in the tournament. I would say Delhi Rus is probably like 5th, 6th. Mongol, Ottoman, English, and HRE is top 4, I would say. Based on the rounds and the civ picks and bans I've seen, those civs were banned quite a bit. And HRE got banned quite a bit because not only they're good on open maps, they're also good on hybrid maps, so you could kind of play them everywhere. And the fact that they were banned so often and still have 58 game picks just kind of shows you it's a pretty good civ for this format, I would say. So I'm a bit surprising that it doesn't have maybe tiny bit higher win rate, but it is what it is. The next one is English, pretty much the same thing as with HRE. It was banned a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if English was the most banned civ in the round 1. Again, same reason like HRE. It's good on water maps, good on like hybrid maps. Good on open maps. A lot of people play English, so it has received a lot of bans, and probably because of the pick rate, it probably has received even more bans than HRE. So yeah. Now Rus is an interesting one. Rus is played on a few maps quite a bit. It reminds me of like of like civs that only used to be played on certain maps, and Rus kind of continues to do that. Rus is played on mainly on Holy Island. People played it a lot, but some other maps as well. And I feel like most of the picks with Rus were probably on those maps. And it has a 56.25% win rate. The recent Kremlin change, where you get like tickets over time, were supposed to nerf Rus, but actually I think they somehow managed to buff it. It used to spawn 6 militia every, like, I don't know how many minutes. And now you can spawn 2 every minute, but the tickets for the spawning of militia stacks. So you can spawn like 20, you know, if you wait long enough. So, yeah, we've seen quite a few people play Rus. It is the second most picked civ, actually, which is a bit surprising to me. But I also think the reason for that is it is probably, out of these like top 5 civs that I've said, it's probably 4th or 5th most banned civ. So it didn't receive a lot of bans, but I guess when it wasn't banned, it did get picked pretty much. Ottoman with 68 picks. It is the most picked civ. I think most people did focus, by the way, on banning... Now that I think about it, most people probably did focus on banning like English, Mongol, HRE. I would say those 3 were probably the top 3 bans. And Ottoman is just a good civ. Again, it's good on hybrid, good on open maps. A lot of people have learned how to play Ottomans these days. Before there was like only a few people that played it. Now a lot of people play it, and it's just a very strong civ for this format. By the way, another reason why English, I forgot to mention why English, Rus, and Ottoman are good for this format is because they do not rely on keeps at all. Ottoman doesn't rely on keeps literally at all. It's a super aggressive civ. You don't sit back and macro, you just go balls to the wall. So obviously if the other civs can't make it, it's a buff to you indirectly. Same thing with Rus. Like Rus is not usually the civ to just sit back and do nothing. And English has the landmarks that are keeps, so they don't need the actual keeps, so they don't suffer from that. And last we got Delhi at #1 spot. Now, do I think Delhi was the best civ in this round? I don't. I'm not gonna spend time like reordering these and which one is best, which one is worst. I mean, French is worst for sure. But the thing about Delhi is it did not even come close to getting the amount of bans that English, Mongol, and HRE did, and it still got picked less than HRE, almost the same as Mongol, and almost the same as English. And obviously that says something, right? If it was that OP, if it wasn't banned out the most, it should have way higher pick rate. But people, I think, who did play it, I mean, I'm not going to go through the names and name players, but people who like playing Delhi are a lot of the top players. And because Delhi cannot make keeps, a lot of people, including me, I assumed Delhi would be worse. But people are playing in general way more aggressive, so the game ends before the keeps are even become a thing. And it's kind of like good in this format if the game doesn't go long, because if the game goes long, then Delhi doesn't have keeps, which are potential TCs for you. So I would take specifically Delhi with a little bit of a grain of salt of how good it's performing. Just because of that. Because I know for a fact it did not receive a lot of bans, and people that did play it are really good players with Delhi. And obviously that can be said for every civ. But yeah, I would say, sadly, French is really, truly this bad. Even, like, Marine Lord was probably the best French player throughout the whole AOE4, and I think he even gave up on it, so, yeah. And you can see, obviously, Abbasid and China, that are kind of boom civs, not doing too great. You can also say, like, English and HRE are boom civs, but they can also play very aggressive. Meanwhile, China and Abbasid are usually very passive, and it kind of shows, right? So, it is interesting to look at the stats. Oh yeah, Angelica did make this. So, let's see. I would love to see ban rates, by the way. I would be very surprised. Obviously, I didn't check every single series, but I would be very surprised if Delhi was, like, even top 5 most banned civs. Let's check what the Redditor gamers are saying. Friends got nerfed to the Earth core as expected. How did Friends got nerfed? Didn't French only get buffs in the last patch? I mean, yeah, they did buff other civs, and yeah, the lack of keeps is painful for French. For those that don't know, when you put a keep as French and you put your stables or archer ranges around it, you reduce the price of units when making them. So it's pretty big. Pretty big. It's kind of like their eco bonus, right? And usually they get it in castle, and now they don't have it. So yeah, I would love to see ban rates as well. Yeah, me too. Maybe Angelica will make that as well. That'd be crazy. But Delhi is bad if they can't build keeps. I mean, true. Delhi is a lot worse when you can't make keeps. But thing is, other civs get fucked by it as well, equally, right? So then Delhi kind of has to compete with, let's say, these 3 civs, which Delhi is in feudal or early castle is pretty good against, I would say. Not so good against HRE, but like the civs that counter Delhi are civs like China, but not in this format, I would say. Could they even pull the stats for ban rates? I don't know if every series has vetoes on it. I'm not sure, actually. I think the fact is Delhi is not bad without keeps, but it makes the civ very all-in, kind of like how it was before the latest patch. But if Delhi had the option of building compounded a defender and then going keeps, I actually think Delhi might be like super strong civ. And I don't think it's the fact that House of Learning sucks, it's the fact that compound in the new patch is really fucking good. So yeah. Because the way Delhi is played now, it's kind of how Delhi was played before. Like super aggressive, you know, knights and all that. Except you can't go for Sacred Side win. You have to actually push and finish the game. While this topic and the stats are pretty cool, I would like to remind everyone that this isn't really a reflex of the reality, not even at the highest level. In the first round, we don't have stonewalls, keeps, and stone towers. What I'm a little bit surprised though, is the Mongol negative win rate, where the rules really shouldn't affect them. And in theory, it should favor them. Yeah, again, I personally think that Mongol probably got banned out a lot. And when it did go through, people either had like... Also, I saw some of the matches, not in my series, but I saw some of the matches where someone would let Mongol through on purpose. And then on the most obvious Mongol map, the guy would be like, oh my god, I'm going to pick Mongol. And the enemy picks Ottomans, which is probably one of the hardest counters to Mongol. And the enemy would pick Ottomans and kind of just, you know, get an advantage. Why does Ottoman counter Mongols? Because if you... So let's say you're playing a hybrid map. If you fight for dock, which you kind of have to, Mongol goes for barracks, you go for barracks, you go for imperial school or military school. And now you're already producing more than the Mongols, right? You have free production. And all you gotta do is not lose any units. And then when Mechter comes out, Mongol is fucked in the ass. Because you put +2 armor on your melee units and you can beat the Mongol spears easily. And after that, Ottoman is a civ that relies on heavy production and heavy massing of units. And Mongol is not. So Mongol has a hard time matching the numbers, basically. And they will probably get the water as well. So, yeah. I've seen that happen a couple of times, by the way, in the tournament, where someone let the Mongol through and then they picked Ottomans against it. When Marine Lord, the best French player who stuck with him, they're kind of May last year, says he won't touch French for the whole tournament. I do think that if you were allowed to build keeps, I'm trying to think, would French even be that good? I think you're still going to see some people play French. Like, I think you will see probably Lucifer Vortex, maybe even Marine Lord play French. But I don't think you're going to see French too much. I just think that it's not that they got nerfed. Someone said it in the chat earlier, like, they didn't get nerfed. It's just that every other civ is getting changes and buffs. And when you think about it, French it's the exact same civ since the game came out. You know what I mean? Like, nothing really changed. I mean, even English, that also hasn't changed for a long time, did receive massive changes now. And French is just kind of like the same, so. Meta is Ottoman, never-ending spam units with Nectar super buff. Yep. They really need to nerf Nectar, I think, for Ottoman. It's way too strong. This is something that pro players have said so many times. But it's too strong. The buff is insane. The fact that it affects siege is fucking insane. It has too much fucking health. It moves too fast. Yeah. Nice to confirm that Rus is objectively a top tier civ as I previously suspected. Also, trading civs, Mongol, Malians and French are all doing terribly despite the claims the trade is OP. Facts over feelings. I literally don't know who was complaining about Mongol, Malian and French trading being OP in one-on-one. In team games it's fucking OP probably. Wait, what? Rewatch Vortexers has managed to ruin my name. In Hill and Dale, tons of people, even some pro gamers, were complaining about trade OP. Really? I don't think I lost that game because trade is OP. Like, trade is OP once it gets rolling, but it shouldn't get rolling, in my opinion. Parody comment. From the games I watched, Rus seems particularly dominant in water. I mean, yeah, Rus was played a lot on Holy Island, right? So again, it's... I don't think Rus is objectively a top tier civ. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they're surprised about Abbasid low win rate. Yeah, me too. I didn't think Abbasid would be like in top 3 win rates, but I didn't think it would be that low, to be honest. Because again, it got picked quite a bit. It is by far the lowest win rate out of the, if you compare it to the amount of games that it was picked in. So, yeah. That's gonna be it. By the way, AOE4 World will probably release the latter win rates in like a week or two. I don't know if I should be even looking at those. I probably will because it's content and it's free video and people like watching those videos. But the reason why I say the latter map pool is kind of weird. Okay, it's kind of doo-doo. You know what I mean? I don't know how much information that's like proper we'll get from it, because there's a lot of weird maps, but we'll do it anyway. And right now, yeah, most players are probably playing custom games, so I don't think a lot of top level players are playing too much. So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Check me out on Twitch. I'm probably streaming live right now, like I'm streaming right now. And for the Twitch gamers, let's keep going.